Let's start talking about bearings. Bearings are always measured off of the north or south line, and you're traveling northeast, northwest, southeast, or southwest. Now, also notice that bearings only go from 0 to 90 degrees. So there's never a bearing that's greater than 90 degrees. In the first quadrant, we're going to always say we're going northeast, so it would be read as this angle here, the 69 degrees, 15 minutes, 5 seconds, would be read as north 69 degrees, 15 minutes, 5 seconds east. So the first quadrant is associated with the northeast quadrant. The second quadrant is going to be associated with the southeast quadrant. I'm measuring this angle here off of the south line, and it's 24 degrees, 37 minutes, and 57 seconds. So this angle is being read as I am traveling south 24 degrees, 37 minutes, 57 seconds east. In the third quadrant, we're talking about the southwest. So we're traveling from the south line, moving to the west. So I've got south 62 degrees, west. Notice again, like I said, you're always going from a 0-degree angle to a maximum of a 90-degree angle. All right? Now, the next thing I want to talk about is going to be your azimuths. So when we're talking about azimuths, we actually going to start at a 0, travel clockwise all the way back to 360 degrees. So azimuths go from 0 degrees to 360 degrees, whereas bearings go from 0 degrees to 90 degrees. All right, and bearings always have a letter to start, either north or south, going east, west. Okay, now bearings also, we're talking about quadrants 1. So traveling from the 0 line to clockwise, quadrant 1 goes from 0 to 90 degrees. Quadrant 2 goes from, we're going to start from 90 degrees to 180 degrees. So if an angle came off of the 0 line between 90 and 180 degrees, it's said to be in the second quadrant. So this one's 133 degrees, 15 minutes, and 56 seconds. The third quadrant, the direction is in 180 degrees to 270 degrees. So again, coming off the 0 line, traveling clockwise, it is going to be in this quadrant. So this example is 217 degrees, 44 minutes, and 5 seconds. Notice there's nothing about northings and eastings when we're talking about azimuths. The last quadrant is quadrant 4, and it goes from 270 to 360. So it's going to go from the 0 line all the way around, and it's going to travel in, let's say, the 320 degrees, 35 minutes, and 18 seconds. Okay, so you're actually talking about this angle here. All right, now, most of the time, we're given a survey that's in bearings, and we need to convert it to azimuths. So to do that, let's take a look at a few things. We know that from 0 degrees to 180 degrees, if I have an angle from here to here, that angle is 180 degrees. Okay? And we know if we go full circle, that's 360 degrees. Now, when we're converting from bearings to an azimuth, that means we know the bearing and we want an azimuth. In the first quadrant, coming off of the 0 line, or the north line, the angle, as long as it's less than 90 degrees, it's going to be a bearing of northeast. It's in the first quadrant, but the azimuth, this angle, is exactly the same as what the bearing values are listed as. So the azimuth and the bearing are the same. In the second quadrant, that means I'm coming off of the I'm actually coming off of the south line, and I've got a south 24 degrees east. That means if this is 24 degrees as a bearing angle, and I want the azimuth, which comes off of the 0 line, then I'm going to have to take, remember we said this entire angle was 180 degrees. So we're going to take 180 degrees and we're going to subtract off this bearing, okay, which is going to give us the azimuth, this purple angle. All right. If we're in the third quadrant and we have a bearing, so our bearing is going to be from the south line out, and we say that this is 62 degrees southwest, then this angle in here is 62 degrees. Now, we want the azimuth from the north or from the 0 line all the way over. Remember, we said that from here to here is 180 degrees. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the 180 degrees and then we're going to add the bearing to it so that we can get the azimuth angle. We can get this angle here, or this direction. Okay. The last quadrant we said is in the northwest, so we're coming off the north, moving west, and it's north 38 degrees west. So this angle in here is 38 degrees. Now, we want the azimuth that goes from here to here, okay? We know that if we go full circle, it's 360 degrees. So we're going to take the 360 degrees and we're going to subtract off that 38 degree angle for the bearing, and we're going to get what's left is going to be our azimuth. Now, excuse me, if we know the azimuth and we want the bearing, then we're going to look at quadrant 1 and we're going to say, as we said over here when we knew the bearing and the azimuth angle, the angle itself is the same, but this would be north 68 degrees, 6 minutes, 42 seconds east. If we're in the second quadrant, or the southeast quadrant down here, and we know this angle here is 131 or 133 degrees, 15 minutes and 56 seconds, and we want this bearing off of the south line. Remember, we know this is 180 degrees, so we're going to take 180 minus our azimuth to get the bearing. So this angle in here is going to be 46 degrees, 44 minutes and 4 seconds, and it's going southeast. Now in the third quadrant, or the southwest quadrant, we say we have this azimuth here going out this direction at 200, so this angle here, this entire angle, is 217 degrees. But what we want is we want the bearing off of the south line. Remember what we said? We said this is 180. So if we take the azimuth, if we take the azimuth and we subtract off the 180 degrees, then we'll get the bearing, this bearing here, going southeast west, and its angle is 37 degrees, 44 minutes, and 5 seconds. In the last quadrant, we know, coming off of the 0 line, going all the way around, this azimuth is 320 degrees. But what we want is the bearing off the north line. So we want this angle in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the 360 degrees and we're going to minus out our azimuth to get the northwest bearing of north 36 degrees, 24 minutes, and 42 seconds west. So remember, bearings are no greater than 90 degrees. They go 0 to 90, 0 to 90, 0, and they're always off of the south line or the north line, moving east or west. Azimuths go from 0 degrees to 360 degrees, full rotation. Okay? Always remember that we are either adding or subtracting 180 degrees, or adding or subtracting 360 degrees in our equations between these two sets to get azimuths into bearings or bearings into azimuths.